In a previous lesson, we proved that a sequence converges to a limit if and only if all of its subsequences also converge to that same limit. And I'll leave a link in the description to the lesson where we prove that. What we'll talk about today is how this theorem gives us a very slick way to prove that a sequence diverges, and we'll see a couple of examples of how to do that at the end of the lesson. When we prove these sorts of if and only if theorems, it's important to remember that we're proving two different conditional statements. And that's why these sorts of statements are called biconditional statements, because they have two conditional statements embedded within them. This theorem contains the following conditional statements. If every subsequence of a sequence converges to the same limit, then the sequence also converges to that same limit. And if a sequence converges to a limit, then every subsequence also converges to that same limit. But another thing to remember is anytime we prove a conditional statement, we've also proved the contrapositive of that statement, because a statement is equivalent to its contrapositive. And sometimes the contrapositive of something you prove is just as useful, if not more useful, than the original statement. We're interested in this conditional statement here. What is its contrapositive? If we call the statement AN converges to A, P, and every subsequence of AN converges to A, Q, then of course this is a statement of the form P implies Q. The contrapositive of such a statement is not Q implies not P. There it is written out. The contrapositive of this statement, which is equivalent to the statement, is the negation of Q implies the negation of P. So what would that be if we wrote it out? Here it is written out. The contrapositive not Q implies not P. It ends with not P, which is pretty straightforward. This statement, AN converges to A, what that really means is that AN converges to some real number that we're calling A. So the negation of that is that AN doesn't converge to any real number, which means AN diverges. That's not P. Not Q is a little bit more complicated. Q is the statement that every subsequence converges to the same real number, A. And there are two ways that could be false. The first obvious way is if two subsequences converge to different limits. Q is the statement that every subsequence converges to the same limit, so if two subsequences converge to different limits, well, that would definitely make Q false. But another way Q could be false is if any subsequence diverges. Again, Q says that every subsequence converges to the same limit, so if any subsequence diverges, well, that would also make Q false. So in total, the contrapositive is if two subsequences of AN converge to different limits, or if any subsequence of AN diverges, then AN itself diverges. And this is the useful tool that we can use to quickly prove a sequence diverges. If you want to prove AN diverges, just find two subsequences with different limits, or just find a single divergent subsequence. And if you didn't like breaking this statement down into its two conditional parts and then considering a contrapositive, instead of going through all of that to get here, we could have just proven this statement from the beginning. To prove this statement, we would begin with a sequence that satisfies the condition. So we'd say let AN be a sequence with a divergent subsequence, or with two subsequences converging to different limits. We want to prove that forces AN to diverge. All we've got to do is use a contradiction argument. Suppose for contradiction that AN does converge, and it converges to some real number A. Well then, by our big important subsequence limit theorem, that means that every subsequence of AN must converge to A. every subsequence of an converging to A, in this case, is obviously a contradiction, because we assumed that an had a divergent subsequence, or two subsequences with different limits. Since assuming an converges forces a contradiction, an diverges. So clearly this tool is valid. Let's go ahead and use it in a couple examples to show that it's also useful. Here's a sequence, an, alternating between 0 and 1 for its odd and even position terms. By the result we just proved, this sequence obviously diverges. That's because one of the subsequences, the subsequence a2n-1, which is the subsequence of odd position terms, this is a constant sequence of zeros, and so it converges to 0. Meanwhile, the subsequence a2n, the subsequence of even position terms, is a constant sequence of 1s, and so it converges to 1. Since this sequence has two subsequences with different limits, it has to diverge. We can also use our result to prove this sequence Bn diverges. Bn equals negative n if n is odd, and it equals half of n if n is even. Clearly, the subsequence here, b2n, the subsequence of even terms, is just the sequence of natural numbers, since, for example, when n equals 2, this will be half of n, which is 1. Then when n equals 4, the sequence will take on a value of half of 4, which is 2, then half of 6, then half of 8, and so on. So the subsequence of even terms is the sequence of natural numbers. And you're probably all familiar with the fact that the sequence of natural numbers certainly diverges to infinity. And if you haven't proven that, give it a try. You can make an afternoon out of it. But certainly, since Bn has this divergent subsequence, we know that Bn has to diverge as well. So that's a handy tool you want to keep in mind for proving that sequences diverge. We can prove a sequence diverges by finding two subsequences with different limits, or a single divergent subsequence.
My eyes spin me around, top of the world, burial mat. Loves what he needs, but not what he's found. Snowed and blind. Him with the sheer of cold command, steering the world's head.